So, welcome to ChatGBT. I am your host, Professor Tom. Actually, today I'm going to be kind of like an interviewee, and my co-host, although will be the host and interviewer, is...
Professor Gabby or Professor G, how the students are calling me now.
Professor G just landed in the house.
Yes.
That's what the kids say, isn't it? Yeah. So, we thought we would do a podcast. We've had my journey, we've had Professor G's journey, we've had a few other people's journeys. So we thought we'd do a journey about the origins and learnings of a Gracie Barra Tooting business owner. Something quite interesting for people to understand. What's it like running a Jiu-Jitsu academy rather than teaching and rolling in a Jiu-Jitsu academy? So we've got about 14 questions, mainly on what I've learnt, what knowledge I can pass on, and what experiences I think have made me a better individual, a better teacher, a better business owner, which wouldn't be hard because I didn't own a business, so yay for that, and any other life experiences that have just made me a better individual, really. So
that's it, so let's go ahead.
Let's kick it off then with the very first one, sort of an opening and origin story.
Ooh.
So, it's
Good.
Here we go back. Do we have one of those where the images go all wavy?
Yeah.
And they're still with no hair, all excited, passionate about starting this 2023.
Completely ignorant to where you're gonna step your foot at.
Yeah, less leathered and tired.
Yeah. Okay, Tom. So, what was the moment you knew that Tooting was the right place to plant the red shoot?
So I'd been looking around for a while to see if I could find the perfect spot for a Jiu-Jitsu academy within certain parameters. I think I've chatted about this before, that it wasn't on my doorstep, but wasn't too far away. I'd been, like when I was a kid, my parents had their business basically in the house, so you can't escape it. So I wanted something that was just far enough away, but the commute wasn't too terrible, just to be able to then give as much time as necessary to the academy, but always be able to get away from it when needed in order to recharge. And hit upon Tooting, because when I came to Tooting, there was nothing, as there is still nothing apart from Gracie Barra Tooting, but there were so many people, not just commuters, but families in the area, schools in the area, where they have no knowledge of Jiu-Jitsu and how it could change their life for the better, and therefore a decision was taken that this was the place it was going to be. It's like close to the tube station,
Close to big main stations, a lot of buses passing by.
Above a bank, so people get money out. It was opposite Wilco's, which was still there at the time, so you could have a cheap shop and that sort of thing. Now, as we record this now, exciting news if you're from Tooting. What was Wilco's is now going to be a Marks and Spencer's food hall. Yay! So the area didn't have it, and I wanted to bring this opportunity of changing everybody's lives, adults and kids, through Jiu-Jitsu to it.
And you mentioned that your parents, they used to have a business on the house. What was the business about, and do you feel that having entrepreneurs on your house had a good impact on giving you the tools or knowledge or courage to open your own gym?
Good question. So my parents,
your own business?
Yeah, my parents owned and still own actually. It was the time when I was growing up. It was just a minibus company. It was a special needs minibus company that you transported children with special educational and physical needs to and from school. So they started out with a few buses, and they used to run it from our house in the northwest. It's grown to be the largest minibus company that takes children to and from school in the northwest of England for special learning and educational needs. But having it in the house was problematic because,
there's no separation between work and your personal life, and you're working all the time, basically.
So that's one thing I took from that, was it's not a good idea to do that. They also worked together. My mother and my father were joint directors of the business, so having that as well was always kind of problematic because
too many tensions.
Exactly, yeah.
Many conflicts,
So I think I shied away from doing it because of the negative experiences of it. But then when I decided to open this place, it was take learnings from that and bring it into this, to know that it can't be in my house, can't be on my doorstep. There needs to be that separation. I'd love to have my wife involved to a certain point, but not being around it 24/7 by having her as a joint director in the business I would see that as a problem. So having her knowledge, but keeping her separate from it as well, I think is really important, so that we can have our own personal space that we can
Definitely.
be.
And I feel like, because I was in this trap before, I had a relationship with someone I used to run a business with, and I just feel like the tensions that you carry from the relationship, they end up spreading to work, and the other way around. So if there's tension on the work, that also affects the relationship.
Yes, and I saw that happening regularly. It was just like, it built quite toxic.
There are people that, after all, they end up learning how to work together and be partners at the same time, and they are successful in that. We have, like, Jiu-Jitsu community, at least, we see a lot of that, like a couple putting together a gym and the gym thriving. So it can work for some people, it just didn't work for me.
No, I think the problem I saw from my parents, like, you're right, it can work as long as you're very disciplined and to separate the roles so that they don't cross over. Whereas what I saw very much was the toxicity of it, was that my mum always thought or my dad was doing the wrong thing, and they would argue about it, and she didn't really have a defined role, so it wasn't really, didn't really work properly. And I was very clear that, the way it needs to work is it needs to work like this. So I took those learnings into this, and so far, touch wood, it's proved to be successful in that regard. I'm still married. I still have friends. I don't work every hour, most hours, but not every hour. So there's still that space, and it's not on my doorstep, so it doesn't leak into my personal life.
Yes, I feel like we need to have some good space. I'm very pleased that the gym is not on the back of my house, because I don't want to go in the morning, go and grab some bread, and then I jump into the studio. And I am with a bad hair day, looking off. I was just So now moving forward, in the first months of the gym, what did you think running a GB school would look like, and what did it teach you, the expectation against the reality? How was it?
I thought, I led to believe that I would have students basically kicking the door down, that everybody would want this. And that was my first naive sort of thought, because it proved to be the case that didn't happen. Because you have an area without jiu-jitsu, you have to then educate people on what jiu-jitsu is, and that's very hard. It's not very different to jiu-jitsu itself. It's hard work. You need to work hard at it to improve at it, and as you improve, you're improving in a granular way. It's not massive growth, you get small growth, and there's small affirmations from that growth. That's basically like jiu-jitsu. It teaches you how to adapt and overcome these sort of small issues. That was one of the hardest things, to sort of go from that mindset of, in fact, it's me that has to tell you about jiu-jitsu. You don't already know. So that's what one of the activities is, just basically a constant program of education of what this is and how it differs from a variety of the martial arts which are exposed to people in the area, and that people knew from when they were growing up, from films. Karate's everywhere. People know about judo, Japanese jiu-jitsu, possibly Brazilian jiu-jitsu, very little, unless you have exposure to the UFC, and even then you've probably got a little bit of knowledge. It was then just about a constant churn of education.
Next question then. I feel like it's like basically getting into a new territory where you don't know much, and no one knows you, and you need to spread the word.
Think of you like
and educate, like you mentioned.
Like a priest, I suppose, in some respects, like that. Priest of jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. Did you spread jiu-jitsu word today? Someone new.
That's it. Have you thought about jiu-jitsu? That'll help solve your problems.
And when you start, if you could replay the opening, the opening month and all, what's the one decision that you would change?
Yes. I thought about this for a while, and it's probably, I focused a lot of my energy on our adults program and trying to grow that as much as I could. because I didn't have huge amounts of exposure to the kids programs when I was teaching and when I was training, I neglected that. And in hindsight, I would have spent a lot more energy and focus on growing the kids program and then the kids community and then the parents community, because I now see how much more beneficial it is for see a smaller person, a child, improving through jiu-jitsu, that not in adults in a granular way, whereas kids, there's a huge growth from the confidence and the discipline they get from it. They find a safe space just to be themselves. They're where they can fail safely, and they grow and learn so quickly, and the parents see that as well, and then parents then spread the word to other parents, and schools then find out about it. So I think probably going back to day one, that's the thing I would change. That's probably, it's not a neglect because I'm still building, and we're still building the kids stuff, but yeah, putting more energy into that and less energy into trying to bring in as many adults as possible.
Do you prefer to, like, from the business perspective, do you think that the children's program is more lucrative than the adult one, like more worth?
Yes, I think from my passion here, changing people's lives through jiu-jitsu, you have to be training jiu-jitsu to feel or to experience that life training changing benefit. We'll probably go into this later on another question, but you'll see that adults tend to stay less in jiu-jitsu because life happens to them, whereas kids, once they get built into a discipline and a routine, they tend to stick with it for longer and experience the benefits of it more. I think in that respect it is more lucrative because you get more affirmation for what you're doing, because you can see the growth and the improvement, but also they're staying longer, and then they're funding the improvement and the growth of the academy to reach more families, more kids, and grow the community. So in that respect, yes, I'd say so.
So now let's talk a little bit about values, because that's something that we really take seriously here. And Gracie Barra is founded in 3 main values: discipline, brotherhood, and integrity.
Yep.
So which value proved the hardest but most worthwhile to implement day to day?
Tricky to come up and just decide between one of them, but straightforward in a way, because integrity is always the most important one in my view. This is the one that upholds all the other standards and policies and helps cement your culture. If you don't act with integrity, if you don't bring that into everything you do, then it erodes everything else you're trying to put in place. You have to, if you say you're going to do it, you have to do it. You have to bring that trust to people, because you have to act it in a way that gives them the assurance that you're acting with integrity. Just a police car going past.
I totally agree with your answer. The thing of integrity comes first, and then the other 2 things they end up following. And brotherhood, I don't know if I like the word. I think that there's a lot of room there for us to think critically about.
Yes, yeah, that's one reason I don't choose it. I think it's a male-dominated word that brings connotations of misogyny, and this is a male sport, when in fact brotherhood and sisterhood, again, you're basically bringing sisterhood because you know that brotherhood isn't the right word for what you're trying to do. I think community and camaraderie says more than that.
Yes, yeah. I agree. We all have to do the ICP, which is the Instructor Certification Program, and I think that it's a very good program for anyone that wants to be a Jiu-Jitsu instructor. It covers a lot of stuff. So what is the practical thing that the ICP was able to prepare you and that you really appreciated once the academy was running and busy, Yeah.
So the confidence that everybody knows that all instructors in this academy have to go through the ICP process. And the ICP process, not only is it a course to give you the necessary coaching qualification, but it also is mandatory that you're first aid trained and you're DBS certified and checked. And in addition to that, you're safeguarded as well, safeguarded trained. For me, it was how to handle teaching kids. I had exposure to teaching adults, and if I had gone straight into doing everything and teaching it in the same way, that would have been a problem, because kids need a very different way of communicating to them the complex ideas of jiu-jitsu. How you then don't get drawn into distractions that then kids bring when you're trying to explain something about jiu-jitsu or instructions or rules or whatever else, and then how to have the balance between discipline and fun. When you're doing it with an adult, it's much more straightforward to tell them and them to go off and do it. It's very straightforward to say it to a kid and for the kid not to understand and then forward to get distracted, and how you then don't get driven down the rabbit hole of distraction by having a conversation with a child about Lego bricks.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I feel like it's always difficult to, just seems like with children it's more difficult to manage the time of the class, like to really focus on stuff, you know. And it just brings also so much pressure, because I feel very responsible for their safety.
Yeah.
So with adults you kind of can tell, hey guys, be very careful with each other, and with children they still don't know exactly how to apply this idea of like being careful with each other.
Yes.
I think not in the same way. They do care for each other, but like, I don't know, it just seems risky to have multiple of them, like an army of children sparring against each other and getting distracted. And
yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and we've gone through a lot of work to get to a point where we have 20 kids on the mat who will sit there and be quiet for at least 5 minutes during an explanation, and then they'll go off and do what they usually do. Prior to that, the work was necessary, is that you would try and sit them all still, and that would last maybe 10-15 seconds, and you get lost in trying to sit them still. The time's gone away, you haven't taught them anything, and you only just end up playing games with them. So they appear to have a great time, but they haven't learned anything. The parents see them kind of having fun, but haven't really seen them do any jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things about the ICP, is it then gives you straightforward structure of how to teach kids jiu-jitsu in a way that kids can get jiu-jitsu as well as discipline and fun from a jiu-jitsu session. That I didn't have previously, and I'm very grateful for that from the certification program.
Yeah. I don't know, I'll have to think more about that, because I don't know my answer yet. But the ICP is very, very good, very amazing.
It's a starting point.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if there's any other gym that actually has such a structured program like this.
No.
And that covers so much stuff. So that's one of the reasons that I felt happy by, working in a Gracie Barra. Because I know that I'm going to receive some very good tools that can help me improve as a professor, like an instructor.
Yeah.
Now changing a little bit the subject, what was the single best operational change that you have done after 1 year?
Summers are getting hotter and longer in London. That's noticeable over the last 3 years. So I took a big decision and invested capital in our air conditioning and ventilation system. And that proved to be a game changer for all our members, our community, kids and adults to train. But it was also for parents as well to sit in summertime on a Saturday in, 25 to 30 degrees outside, and it'd be cool in here to about 20 degrees. It means that then we can be the best versions of ourselves as coaches and instructors when it's not a ridiculous temperature in here. Because between 23 and 24, it was hot and it was uncomfortable, and we had no fans, it just opened, there was no ventilation, it got very sweaty, and you have 2 windows with a bit of air coming through, and you run the risk of people passing
fainting
out.
In the middle of the class.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I think it's just because here, you guys don't have to deal with heat as much,
Yeah.
But for me, I love the fact that these air cons also, they heat the space.
Yes. Yeah.
But then when it's the summertime and all I want is just to feel heat,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hate this air cons.
Yeah.
Yes, because for me the good temperature is 26 degrees.
26 degrees.
Yeah. Forward, 26 to
I'm
28. That's
I'm very
ideal.
grateful for the GB wear lightweight gis in the summertime, because wearing a heavy gi training, you lose a lot of water. So constant hydration is a problem. But having aircon rather than fans, or even before that was just an open door and an open window, it was so much better now. And I'm glad I did that. And I hope the rest of the community is grateful and glad I did it as well. Yeah.
So now I'm dealing with the fact that like during the summertime I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be at my peak, you know. I'm gonna be fighting on 26 degree, 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, feeling hot. I'm gonna beat everybody else because they don't.
They
they're
know how
not
to
used
cope.
with the heat.
Yeah. And then
But
it's
now we're gonna have the air con, so
constant
we'll
20
have to
degrees. Perfect.
adapt to that.
Perfect.
Now, Tom, I think it's a very interesting question now because, like, even though we are in a specific neighborhood, we are in this extremely big city, London. And as any other big city, they have, like, it has their own problems, you know?
Yeah.
So, what kind of London problems taught you your toughest business lessons?
So my first thought about this question was, okay, it's got to be about the tube and or the strikes and all this sort of stuff, bus strikes and all that sort of thing, people being unable to get to training. But because we're in such a residential area, it's quite straightforward, and because there are so many different options to get to the academy, that a tube strike doesn't mean the trains stop, and a train strike doesn't mean the buses stop. And if all other things break down, there's an army of line bikes ready that we've had before just parked outside the academy. So there's always a way for people to get to the academy. Maybe it's not specific to London, maybe it's a city related thing, but learning how to surf the months or the seasons, it's like the lessons I've taken from it, that the information we get, like January is a month of explosive growth, which can be really chaotic and a real challenge to give newcomers and the existing students the time they need, so they feel invested in. And then spring, the new you, new year, new you individuals, they tend to have hit that honeymoon period a little bit earlier and have started to maybe trickle away. So then you start to get the plateau of those who are in it for the long duration and the existing students that have been here for a while. So then you can improve the amount of time you can give to each student and start to help them progress through their goals and help them improve as we head towards the summer. And then summer, like I was saying about investing in aircon, is that if it is really, really hot, as soon as the temperature goes up, the attendance is full because people would rather be somewhere else. If it's too hot in the academy, they're going to go and sit in a movie theatre where it's air conditioned, or a supermarket aisle, or the frozen section of Waitrose, so they can get a bit of a cool fresh air. But now we've got the aircon and stuff, so it's been also advertising and educating people that we've got that system so they can still train safely and then enjoy the sunshine after the session. London people are very sociable people, so as soon as the sun comes out, the clothes come off. It doesn't matter when it's sunshine in February or sunshine in August, you'll always see somebody with a pair of flip-flops on and a pair of shorts, even, and a scarf, because it is still cold, but they love the sunshine, so they always love to be outside. So you're battling with that as well. And we do a great job educating people. Yeah, train jiu-jitsu, you can go outside in your scarf and sunglasses and flip-flops and shorts. And we keep people training in the summertime due to those things. At December, you find that Christmas starts a little bit earlier every year. So people start celebrating and going out for parties midway through November or the beginning of November. So you see a drop then as well. Then when people have had all the fun, they realise that, yeah, Christmas is actually coming and I'm tired of going out all the time. They then start to ramp back up their training, get rid of the guilt of all the partying they've done, and get ready to eat as much as they can over Christmas. So then you have that huge burst of explosion just sort of midway through December, ready for the academy to close and then feel better about themselves. So yeah, it's a constant job keeping people motivated and engaged to feel that they're getting more than just some jiu-jitsu positions all the way through the year, keeping them attending and giving them all these options when they're training and battling against the different phases of the month and phases of the year.
Oh, since you mentioned about like this thing of keeping them motivated and engaged,
yeah,
I would like to know, like, how did your coaching style evolve? You know, once you were responsible for the whole student journey, not just a class.
When you start to appreciate that their learning doesn't finish when the class finishes. So I started a process of individual goal setting for them so that after class they have something to go away with. They can plan themselves how they want to achieve those goals and improve themselves, not just come into a session, pick up what they need, go away, and then expect what they've picked up to be there the next time. It's then just a constant process of education, just to help them improve themselves both on and off the mats.
Yeah, I think that we need to be very clear in our heads that the learning process is not something that happens in just one class.
Yeah.
So it's really a longer process, and how we can support them on that. So the settling goals for everybody, new students and even the ones that are more experienced, it's something that always works well, because then now they have guidance.
Yeah.
They have a direction on what they need to focus their learning process at. And what did you learn about progression pacing, stripes, feedback, and helping the students through their plateaus of learning?
Yeah, so I think having the benefit of teaching elsewhere prior to tooting was very important. I already had passed through the tunnel of expectation, as I call it, as assuming that if I could do it, then so could all the white belts, and then getting frustrated previously when they couldn't do something that I considered quite straightforward and simple. That would be very hard to overcome. So it was then when you get to tooting, you already have lowered your expectation of what people can actually achieve when they first start out as a white belt. So you pace them in that regard, is you don't try and rush them too early in these more advanced things. Remembering it's a bit like learning to walk or ride a bike, is that you don't get on and then ride the Tour de France. You have to learn with a basic bike. It's got stabilizers on it. Then you can progress after that to a bike without any stabilizers, or even before that as a balance bike sort of thing. You crawl before you can walk, and you walk before you can run. So you teach them those things that are going to help them at every step of that journey, so that by the time they can reach their sort of juvenile jiu-jitsu age as a purple belt, they have the tools in order then to do those really complex things that you've wanted them to do since they were white belt. Having patience, therefore, is incredibly important.
Yeah, patience. I think that I'm improving that virtue with myself, as an instructor, as a person, because it does teach you a lot of patience. You know, if you don't have patience, you just keep getting constantly frustrated and annoyed, and then you start reacting badly to whoever you're teaching.
That's it, because you start to be frustrated that they can't do the simple thing. Well, the things you deem are simple, when in fact it can be quite complex, and we have to have that benefit that when we started, we would have experienced the same things. It's just so long ago, and we've absorbed so many other things, we don't have the memories of what it was like at the beginning, of how hard it is to understand how to hip escape.
Yeah, I don't recall a lot of stuff how come they cannot bridge? And then it's man, but I think that my bridges were probably awful at the beginning as well. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do, how a bridge is supposed to look like, you know?
I think only in the last few years that it's been all in gym social media, glute bridging, and now you have that information to say, it's just like a glute bridge, you just direct it slightly differently. But then you try and explain what a glute bridge was many years ago, people were like, what? Yeah.
If you ask me, I still don't know what is a glute bridge.
A glute bridge. So glute bridges, weighted, you see people in the gym, they rest their back and they put a barbell across their hips with weights, and then they just bridge up and squeeze their glutes together to get really tight buns. Yeah, that's a glute bridge. So all jiu-jitsu practitioners doing is glute bridging, but then directing that bridge one side or the other. Cue 1,000 comments now about how I'm incorrect.
No, but when you said glue bridge.
Glute, yes, glute.
Glute. I understood blue bridge glue bridge, and I was like, what is it?
Accent is coming out. Glute bridge, that is.
Glute.
A glute. A glute bridge. Thank you very much for joining us here on ChatGPT. Tune in next time where we finish off our interview with Professor Tom and his learnings about opening a new jiu-jitsu business.